she recently said, golf training is a load of rubbish.
Just getting in the gym and doing exercise is going to improve your golf.
I think there's a lot of golfers out there that don't really like exercise. When you see a lot of these quote unquote like golfy exercises out there, they are garbage. If that's all you're relying on to train your golfers, then you're not doing a very good job.
Your rest period is your rest period. Like, that means rest. Middle-aged white men will do anything but work out.
Is golf more fun than working out? Yes.
Welcome to the Lift Heavy, Swing Fast podcast.
Welcome to the show.
Part 2 of a 3-part series and snowed in.
Yeah. We're not building off the last episode. It's a snow day for us, day 2.
Yeah, I mean, I just like to, it feels like part 2 of probably 3 days of being inside, which is fine. And
I just got off the call with one of my clients who's about to go play golf in Scottsdale. It's 75 and beautiful there. So
it's weird because that's not jealous. It is far away, but at the same time, it's like not, and it's just a completely different climate.
Absolutely different. I mean, he was talking about, it's peak season there. So the courses are more expensive right now. And
yeah. What is it, like $400 for him to go play today?
I don't think it was quite that expensive, but it was more than what I've ever paid.
$250?
I don't think it was quite that. I think it was like $180 or something, but is what he said. Yeah. But it's not a cheap green fee. It's not the most expensive I've ever heard of.
$180 is not bad. Like, that's literally not bad for out there. That's not bad.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it's what do you say? It's spring training and snowbirds and all that kind of stuff. Like I told him when we lived in South Florida, the same thing happened. Like when the weather started cooling down everywhere else, it's still beautiful there, and it was expensive to go play golf.
Yeah, it's expensive.
And it was crowded.
Yeah, that's kind of like the thing too, because there's not that many places in the country that are warm right now. February is kind of hard.
And like people get really upset about crowded golf courses and pace of play and stuff like that, and I totally understand that, and I've been there and it sucks. But I think one thing we got to understand is, well, right now it's tough in these areas because there's not a lot of them, so of course they're going to be crowded. But people, we want golf courses to be crowded. You want it to be busy. Obviously, you want pace of play. You don't want to stand around all day, but if you want your favorite course to stay open, it needs to be busy because it's expensive to run a golf course. And when we talk about the gyms being busy this time of year, it's like we should encourage that, kind of understand and be patient. Because if your golf course is slow and dead all the time, then it's probably not going to be open that much longer.
I agree with that, but I also like gym and golf course included is like the etiquette piece where we're just not, and that stuff's getting worse. I think people definitely don't love crowds, but I think more so it's like you're seeing people complaining about groups of teenagers or people that leave weights everywhere, and it's the same thing on the golf course. It's like kind of like you can have a crowded golf course and it should be marshaled appropriately too, which we've also been on a lot of golf courses that don't necessarily have that, but it's like who's teaching the rules and enforcing the rules and doing a good job of that. I think that's actually important and something that isn't being done everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, at the course, you should be able to keep up with the group in front of you, and you should be decently okay. And if they have really short intervals of when they allow tee times to go off, it's obviously going to set up a pretty big problem. Like if you're letting a foursome go off every 8 minutes, that's going to be a crowded golf course. So I think they have to, find the balance there of getting enough people out there to make it a viable business. I mean, gyms really, there's nothing you can do. I mean, some gyms I know do peak hours.
Yeah.
And where you can have a membership for certain times of the day and things like that. They'll charge you less if you're someone that'll come in at noon.
Totally.
Or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. If you come between certain hours, it's different. But yeah, I mean, it's just communicating with people, and I don't know if golf courses need more signage, because a lot of people talk about, if there's a drivable par 4 or if people are trying to get on the par 5 and 2 or something like that and they're waiting for the green to clear, that can cause a pretty big backup. But I think there should be some signage out there or something like, okay, we're going to go ahead. If we're not going for the green, we're going to go ahead and hit, and then we will stand to the side and let you go for it. That type of just more communication is always key. And same thing at the gym, right? Like if the squat racks are full, which typically they're not, but maybe I'll make a better example.
They are.
Sometimes they are.
They are as of definitely more than they used to be.
Yeah, that's true. I should take that back. But being courteous or just walking up to somebody. I mean, what I used to do is I try to find someone like my same height, or maybe they were doing the same weight that I would be doing, work in, unless they're someone that's super setting and doing a bunch of crazy stuff. Like if they're resting 2 or 3 minutes, that's plenty of time for you to jump in, do your set, change the weights, change them back to how they had it, and just being, a human and communicating with people and working together. And the same thing can be done on the golf course. So I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but
it's a good tangent because I brought it up because you were like, well, everyone gets mad at crowded golf courses, and I'm like, yeah, but I also people are just shitty sometimes. Not everybody, but it's like people can do better.
Yeah.
And we can hold other people accountable better and all do better.
I mean, same thing like when I was in the restaurant business and people were complaining about a busy wait on a Friday night. I'm like, okay, go to the restaurant that doesn't have a wait on Friday night.
Right, totally.
And see the difference.
Exactly. I mean, you and I eat at 4:30 now, so that's fucking great. We can literally go wherever we want. I love that for us so much.
And we sit at the bar, but we don't even really drink at the bar, but we sit there and get
what
our
a
food
good, yeah, I
served.
know 2 people. Like, it's just so easy to like squeeze in. I just kind of I love that.
Yeah.
We never have to wait for food, and we can go to good places.
Oh yeah. It's funny when we make reservations at 4:30 and then we show up and there's no one else there. We're like, "Do you have a reservation?" We're like, "Nope, no, we don't. We're not the ones that made that."
We don't have. I mean, sometimes I do because you never know. There are definitely places. I don't know if this exists as much anymore, but I remember back in like the DC restaurant weekdays where it's like the weird times would still be like filling up. Like sometimes you have to get a reservation. Fuck, I'd rather have one than not.
Right. But it's always funny when we walk in and there's not a single table there and like, reservation for 2.
Yep. We're coming in hot. Like, whatever.
I like when you usually put your name down. So it's reservation for Erika.
It's for me. And for this, he's grumbling. I hope that everyone can hear it on the mic. Probably it's too quiet.
Hear our puppy grumbling over there.
Man, if you guys are not watching this on YouTube, you are missing out on this beautiful long-haired dachshund with the Kirkland signature brand hoodie on.
Oh, if they've watched, he's in every single episode I think we've ever made. So.
I know, but he is now wearing a hooded gray sweatshirt. He doesn't really like it. Although I know he likes to be warm, so I know that he likes this secretly. He does. He just doesn't like walking around in it.
Yeah, I mean, he loves being in blankets, so you would think that having something on him permanently.
It's the legs. It's the like having something around his like armpits and arms where he's like
Yeah, he just feels stuck, but he's not. He can move.
Spot does not like to wear clothes.
Like his mama.
Right. Immediately takes clothes off. That dehumidifier, or what is it? A humidifier? Not dehumidifier.
Yeah, it's adding humidity, so it's not de.
It's humidifying. That's good. You can probably tell I'm a little nasally today. I'm not that bad. I am going to like beat this cold before it gets too full blown. I don't feel bad. It's just all in my nose. And I'm going to fight this bitch off.
And so if people don't know, our podcast studio is actually in my office. So like just on the other side of our camera here is like my desk and everything. And I have a heater in here and I have a humidifier.
There's a different climate in here for sure.
It's so in the rest of the house, you come in this room and it's like, wow, it's kind of like a sauna in here.
It is. I like took my sweatpants off in advance of coming in here because I knew that it would be, because it's literally 6 degrees outside.
Yeah, it's 6 degrees outside, but here, and I have dry skin, so like this, if you guys are out there and you have like dry skin, like my knuckles like kind of crack in the wintertime and my elbows, get yourself a humidifier. It's an absolute game changer.
Can I borrow it for sleep tonight?
No, absolutely not.
Please, so I can make sure that I get my cold fixed.
I don't think, how's that going to help your cold?
It's going to keep my nose running instead of it being clogged up. I'm going to borrow the humidifier tonight, please. Thanks.
After I just got done telling people how awesome it is?
Yeah, you're going to be without it. You can just put we'll put a steamy cup of water in your room. That'll be good for a little bit.
I'm not happy about this.
All right, so today's topic. We'll talk about the humidifier offline.
It's how your wife steals your things.
Please. We only have one, and we're iced in. I can't even go get a humidifier.
For how many times you've made fun of me for having this thing?
Cody, because literally you're supposed to use one when you're sick. You use one 100% of the time.
As soon as the what do they say on the news? As soon as it's bone dry outside, the humidifiers on.
Okay, well, tonight you can do without it. You'll be fine.
Squat
and I need it.
We'll see about this. We'll see how this goes in this house tonight.
Okay. Today's topic is not about any of this stuff. It's totally about golf workouts.
Yes. Well, I think it's golf exercises.
Golf exercises.
I think that should be the...
Yeah, okay.
Because a couple of things have come up recently. Charlie Hull, if you guys don't know who she is, she's an LPGA Tour player. Pretty popular mainly because she smokes cigarettes on the golf course. I think that's how she gets a lot of attention. And she's not bad looking either. But she recently said, golf training is a load of rubbish. So she's English. So translate to American, it's golf training is garbage.
Okay.
And I think this comes from a place of people's perception of what quote unquote golf fitness actually is.
Yeah.
And I got a heavy dose of this at the PGA show I went to a month ago now, maybe. And people would, come up, they'd see my badge. It says like fitness professional, golf fitness professional, go over to the golf fitness area, and people come to you all the time like, oh yeah, I need to do more golf specific exercises. And I'll ask them like, what are you currently doing? They're like, oh, your normal stuff, your squats, your pull-ups. I'm like, well, that's golf fitness. That's 90% of what it is right there. Doing your foundational exercise. And like, no, but I need to do more of, and then they immediately like imitate the golf swing somehow. And so I think that's where a lot of this comes from.
Okay. All right. So why is she calling it rubbish? What's her background besides that she's a hot Instagram influencer?
Well, I mean, she's an LPGA tour player.
Right.
So
okay.
she's a
so she
very good golfer.
Currently plays on the tour.
Yeah, she's a great golfer. And ironically enough, she actually is promoted or a sponsored athlete, I guess you could call it, of a golf fitness program.
Okay.
So, which is kind of ironic. So either whatever, reading between the lines, I'm like, did they have a falling out and like she thought the training was rubbish, or is this just a brilliant marketing scheme that they're up to?
Yeah.
to get attention, because it did garner a lot of attention. I was actually tagged in a bunch of the videos of her saying this, and I think what she's talking about, without actually knowing her personally and knowing exactly what she's talking about, and I think it is that when you see a lot of these quote unquote like golfy exercises out there, they are garbage. Right? Like a lot of these ones that maybe you grab a band or a weight and you try to imitate every single movement that's in the golf swing too much, to where it ends up being a swing drill with weights, which is not a great swing drill. And then it's a terrible exercise. Because from my point of view, if we are in the gym, we should be trying to accomplish something with the body. Maybe it's more mobility, flexibility, strength, speed, or conditioning, or any of the other things that might be your goals in the gym, but that pretty much covers everything right there. And if the exercise you're doing, if it's a golf specific exercise, it's not accomplishing any of those goals better than another exercise would, it's falling in this kind of like no man's land of, okay, it's not specific enough to the golf swing, as if you were holding a golf club in your hand and doing a swing drill that was given to you by your coach. And it's not challenging enough for the body to get a stimulus from it. And one of those things I just talked about, mobility, strength, speed, conditioning, then it is garbage. It's like really not doing anything for you. Is it negatively impacting you? Probably not, because like moving around is just better than not, right? Like, is it better than sitting on the couch? Absolutely. Is it going to negatively impact your swing? Maybe, probably not, right? But it's not checking one of the boxes on either side. Did I explain that well?
Yeah, I think that made sense. I mean, I guess kind of go into what's the difference between a regular program and a golf program? Can we talk about that?
Yeah. So if we were to categorize all the programs that are out there, right? Like if we took, it's all a form of resistance training for the most part, right? And then we call it something else. Like, okay, if it's bodybuilding, if it's golf specific, if it's CrossFit, if it's this or that, like we're going to be doing resistance training and all these things. So every type of training that you're going to do is probably going to make you stronger, probably going to make you more mobile. But what are we going to bias it towards, right?
Yes.
Like a bodybuilding program is biased towards making you bigger and aesthetically pleasing, right? Which usually comes from nutrition, which we just did a whole conversation about that. But the training itself is to build more muscle hypertrophy, to make your muscles larger in size. And then how they actually look, again, is like nutrition and just your genetics. Other programs, right? Like if you were training to do marathons, right? Like your training is going to be biased towards running long distances. So if we're doing a golf specific program, our training is going to be biased towards playing golf. So what do we need more of that other programs don't really require? Golf requires a little bit more mobility, right? Especially like, not saying that other programs don't work on like stretching and flexibility training and stuff like that, but it is going to be more mobility, like more hip turn, more shoulder turn, more thoracic spine, more wrist, more ankles than some of the other trainings that like bodybuilders don't necessarily need a lot of that stuff. They need probably some of it to get in certain poses, but it's not going to be something they're going to bias their trainings towards, because again, it's going to be biased towards building size. Speed, right? Like it can't be denied that people that hit the ball farther, play better, score lower. I mean, the top players on the PGA Tour hit the ball really damn far. So we need more speed. So we just bias the training more towards that. And that doesn't mean that we need to do these exercises that look just like the golf swing. Like something that really makes you move faster are like jumps, sprints, moving weights faster. Like, again, like some of these other, like a CrossFitter, like they might do Olympic weightlifting, but for the most part, like they're just trying to get things done. They're trying to get like a high amount of work done quickly. It doesn't mean each rep is really, really fast like we would in golf specific training, because the golf swing is only one at a time. So we would do exercise in the gym that can allow us to create the most force and speed, right? And those aren't necessarily golf drills with weights, right? Like if we were going to create speed, we're going to do a jump, or we're going to do a med ball slam, or maybe we're going to do a squat, but it's not going to be slow and heavy. It's still going to be heavy, but we're going to move it faster. So like these things will create speed better than, just, I don't know, some of these other drills that you would see out there.
Better, like more what a golf coach would do around the swing.
Right.
So to speak.
Right.
I think that's the big thing too with golf fitness, is we're getting caught up between like doing golf drills that you would do with a golf swing coach as opposed to like in the gym. And that's where the divide is.
Yeah. And I think one of the things, right, is that why golfers like this is because maybe a lot of them, not everyone is like us, or maybe some of our people that are listening to this, was I assume people that listen to us generally like exercise. I think there's a lot of golfers out there that don't really like exercise.
Yeah.
So when they see this drill that's maybe the guy's holding a kettlebell and they're doing something that looks extremely golfy. Again, that's in air quotes for those that are just listening. That looks appealing to them. They're like, okay, cool, I'll do that. Like, I'm totally down to do that drill because it looks like I'm going to be exercising. And it looks a lot like a swing, which I love to do when I don't really like doing exercise. So can we just do a bunch of that stuff?
Is this the equivalent of like those memes that are like 50 middle-aged white women will do anything but like exercise? And it's like them doing, I mean, we've seen weird like trampoline gymnastics or aerial, like hanging from like suspended whatever there are. Like they're jumping around, just doing weird, idiotic. And it's like, you're just doing another version of cardio or whatever.
Right.
Is it kind of like that with golf fitness where it's like old white guys, sorry, like we'll do anything but like do leg day in the gym. I feel like that
100%.
might be like I think we're like on a cusp of a really good piece of content.
I think so. Can we write this down, or I mean, you're gonna put in the show notes.
It's in the show notes, but it's also in my brain now. So it's like, I mean, I really do think that the golf fitness space is sort of like that because, and I go back to like, okay, we both know 90% for most people, for more than 90%, but for most people, just getting in the gym and doing exercise is going to improve your golf. We've talked about this. We are in the golf specific training world. Like we are all about marketing to like golfers. We are all about doing golf specific training in all of our programming, but we also know as far as bang for your buck and what we program for our clients, just getting into the gym and being more consistent and just being healthier, stronger, better is going to improve your golf. Like truly, like that's going to move the needle the most. You and I talk about that all the time. What's the lowest hanging fruit? Like just fucking get to the gym.
Yeah.
Like do the things. But when I think of sport training, I feel like golf does kind of stick out because it's like, I'm not a basketball trainer or a baseball trainer, but I feel like there's not as much like, oh, we're going to mimic the basketball throw. Like we're not doing weighted basketball throwing like the way that golf is like, just let's do anything with weighted swinging around like in the same just one direction of that you would swing the golf club. Like there's just not a lot of, again, tennis maybe because it's like a very rotational sport, but even still, like you're just seeing more like explosiveness, power, like how all of these other athletes in any other sport basically are training, but golf for some reason just like sticks out as like this. And maybe it's just because that's the content that I'm fed, but it just seems very like we must be sticking with the banded things and only do the golf swing when someone is trying to like market or sell or come up with a golf training program.
I agree. And, I think I've posted some of the stuff too that looks very golfy. Like, I'm not saying like I've never done anything like this because it gets people's attention. If someone's playing another sport, and I think golf kind of gets the bad rap that it's like not very athletic. Right. So if it's much easier to get someone to work out that's playing basketball or playing football because they understand that they need to be in better shape to play that sport. And golf kind of gets away with it that we can look at certain players, especially like the John Daly's of the world that don't work out and play well, that we're still trying to convince golfers that they need to do this kind of stuff. So that's kind of how you get them in the door. That's how you get their attention with some of this stuff. And then hopefully if you're following a good program, you should maybe see one of those exercises very, very rarely, that looks like it would be a golf, quote unquote, golfy exercise.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably part of it that we kind of have to draw them in a little bit. I don't want to call it like a bait and switch, but I did kind of see that happen one time when I was working in Florida. Is a guy showed up wanting to do all these golf movements and he went and worked with the trainer and the trainer had him doing Bulgarian split squats like as the first movement. He's like, whoa, I'm not here to do this stuff. I want to do all the stuff that's on your page. He's like, well, sorry, that's not really fitness. Like here, this is actually what we do. And so that's just part of the game, I think, unfortunately, but I'm kind of committed now to like stopping that and just going all in, going deeper on, we need to do hip rotation, but it doesn't need to be this hip rotation that's exactly how it looks in the golf swing. Let's just kind of break down the hip rotation that we need, and then let's pick the best exercise for that particular person or just for this particular workout that we're going to do that really trains that movement that we want that is in the golf swing, but maybe we're doing it on the ground, and obviously like we don't do the golf swing on the ground.
Yeah.
But and I brought that up when I was at the PGA show. I asked Dr. Greg Rose of TPI, and he immediately rolled his eyes because he knew what I was going to ask. Like, because halfway through my question, I said, what do you think of all of these? And then he even like said, oh, the golfy exercises. I was like, what do you think of all these exercises that mimic the golf swing? And he goes, oh, wait, you mean the golfy exercises? I was like, yeah, those. I was like, do you find that those are useful? Or do you think that those really have no place in golf training? And he goes, well, If that's all you're relying on to train your golfers, then you're not doing a very good job.
If you go to like a PT for an injury, like if anybody's ever been through that experience, you're not necessarily like doing the one movement that hurts you or whatever. It's like, okay, let's find where the joint above that, the joint that's injured, how that one moves. Like you're doing things that like you're strengthening weaknesses that you have and imbalances in your body that caused that injury, or to rehab that specific injury. You're not like just repeating the movement of that. Oh, my ankle hurts, so we're just going to do a bunch of ankle dorsiflexion and like just, that's not how it works in PT. And I feel like PT is an extension of, or like almost the medicinal version of training, fitness. And so it's like, cool. Like to your point, are you going for power? Are you going for mobility? You're going to work on like all of the things where you're weak at in your golf game or also in life that are then going to just power you up for your golf game. And it does not necessarily have anything to do, because you're not walking around doing the golf swing, and you might not be doing it right anyway because you have all of these imbalances or all these weaknesses, et cetera, et cetera. So like, how are you going to expect it to be different if you're like the foundation that you're working with is the exact fucking same?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you look at some of these exercises out there, you can just tell by watching them that they're not quite being stimulated the way they should be, right? Like if you're doing like a squat to a row, for example, like, and you're pulling and the cable's like in front of you, that line of resistance is coming from the cable. So it's basically, like parallel with the floor, right? If you can just kind of imagine what's happening, like, right? If you row from a cable, right? That's where the resistance is. It's only going to come when I pull the cable towards me, right? So if I hold it out in front of me and I do a squat with the cable in front of me, that's not resistance, right? I'm only getting my body weight. So when you're thinking about putting these exercises together that mimic the golf swing, they're not going to stimulate you the way like doing just a squat would, and then doing a row. Like if you,
I know what a squat to row is, but that's a golf thing.
Yeah, so people will do that, and then they'll kind of like row and rotate, and they're thinking, okay, well, I'm pushing through the ground, and then I'm pulling and I'm rotating. And it's like, okay, well, let's think about this. There's no extra resistance coming from the ground. It's just your body weight.
Well, yeah.
So we'd be much better served to break the two things up and train them correctly.
It's like any of those goofy compound moves, though, right?
Right.
I mean, we talk about that with just, why are you doing a squat to a press with the same dumbbells? Like your legs are obviously a bajillion times stronger. Like you're not getting the same stimulus.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
So that type of thing. So instead of trying to make it this all-encompassing thing, and people will point to, okay, well, it's training the sequencing or the coordination. I'm like, okay, it's not, right? Because your sequencing isn't the same as it is with the golf club in your hand. You wouldn't move that slow. You wouldn't move this way. Like, so no, it's not creating sequencing. Is it creating more coordination? Sure. Any exercise is creating more eye coordination, like just because you're moving around, right? Like just because it's overly complex and looks more like the golf swing doesn't mean it's actually going to translate to the golf swing. So what we should do is load up that row. If it's a row rotation, so be it. We need to load that up and get in the stance we need to do that exercise really well. And then we need to do another exercise that's going to load up the squatting pattern, right? And then do that one really well. Then those two together, not at the same time, become a really good golf fitness program. And then you take that, you're like, okay, now I got this more ground force, I got this more ability to row, which helps to, you essentially kind of pull the golf club around your body at some point, or else you would just release it and throw it away down the fairway. Put those two together. Now when it's time to go to the range and practice your swing, you've built up these two capacities to do the swing better, and that's where you actually practice your sequencing, your coordination. And then, there's not a small amount or a scarcity of drills to be done on the range without a weight in your hand. And there's not a scarcity of how many exercises you can do in the gym with weights in your hand.
Yes.
So why do we have to marry the two together to end up with this bastardized swing drill workout situation that's not quite stimulating either one of these things that we're trying to do? Do it separately, do it well, do it how it's supposed to be done, load up the tissues, which will either build you more mobility, more strength, more speed, more power, more conditioning. Then go put that golf club in your hand and then work on it. And I think another thing too is people will do certain drills with like no weights in their hands while they're in the gym. Like if that's a rest period and you want to do some kind of like swing drill that you're working on during a rest period, like I don't really see a problem with that. But I still think it's much better served while you're out on the range doing your drill and then putting a club in your hand to like take that feel. And that people are talking like, oh, well, I'm developing this feel in the gym. Again, let's develop the feel of something being properly stimulated.
Yeah.
And then go feel that being stimulated when you're doing the drill out on the range immediately into the swing.
Yeah, it's almost like the multitasking thing too. Like our bodies don't do that very well. It's like you're in the gym, like take your rest period is your rest period. Like that means rest, and you want to stay focused on the movement that you're doing in that point in time, and not be filling it with like doing all the. You don't do your fucking other chores in between sets at the gym. You know what I mean, or
Right.
whatever. Like it's just because we don't do that stuff well. So it's like stay focused on the task at hand. Gym workouts 45 minutes, hour, 30 minutes. Like you can stay focused on that. And like to your point, if you're doing like work on, I guess, your sequencing and your CNS, like work on that stuff. Yeah. When you're out on the range, so that you're like imprinting it during that time versus in the middle of doing a back squat or something. And then all of a sudden you're doing this weird rotational movement in between sets.
Yeah.
Seems weird.
Yeah. And somebody sent me one the other day, and I had to kind of break it down. And the guy was on the range and he had a kettlebell and he was trying to do this, this lateral shift, grab the bell. And like, I'm kind of breaking down. I'm like, okay, what is the resistance actually doing to this drill? Right? Like, is this weight actually adding anything to it? And I think that's a really easy way to like kind of figure out like if it's an exercise or a swing drill. Can it be progressed? Can it be overloaded? Can you actually get the stimulus the same type of stimulus that you would from an exercise out of this? Then no, it's going to be some type of swing drill. And then could it be better if you didn't have this weight in your way and you just had a golf club or maybe just your body? Like, I mean, when I first started working with my swing coach, he was trying to fix my pivot, which we didn't use anything. It was just me standing there on camera with my body and my arms across my chest, not a weight in my hand, not anything like that. And we're just working on that. So would it have been better if I would have put a barbell across my chest and done this? Like, absolutely not. Right. So that's a swing drill. I don't need the weight. You know, if he was wanting me to squat or like work on my ankle mobility or something like that, that would be better in the gym.
Oh, I think one thing that people forget too is like weights can also exacerbate like an issue too. Again, if like you have really terrible movement patterns or whatever, you're not necessarily going to do it better with more weight.
Right.
We would never overload. Same in the gym. You don't start with, oh, this is the first time I've ever done a squat, so I'm just going to load it up. Like you just start really basic shit, light as fuck until you get the movement down. So that's just kind of another argument for maybe why you wouldn't want to.
Yeah. And if we're trying to, if we're going back to the argument of sequencing, right? Like how much does the golf club weigh? I don't know, but it's not very much. Even if we're talking about getting a lightweight or something like that, that's going to change up your movement tremendously, right? So do you want to actually carry that movement over? Do you really want to just drill that into your head, hundreds and hundreds of times?
Right.
And I don't think people realize how quickly reps in the gym add up, right? Like if we're doing a single-sided exercise and you're doing like 2 different exercises, 3 sets of 10 each side, I'm not good at math. Like how many reps is that? I think that's
30 times 2 is 60.
Times 60, yeah. And then you're doing 2, so that's 120 reps. If you're doing 2 different exercises of just 3 sets of 10 per side. Do you really want to be repping out that many and of something that could be detrimental? Or would you rather just say, okay, let me just load this up. If I'm going to work on turning, if I'm going to work on rotation, let's just load up this rotation pattern. Let's isolate what we're trying to do. Is it hip rotation? Is it torso rotation? And let's just grind that out. Let's not think about the golf swing. Let's think about doing this correctly. Let's think about loading this up. Let's think about turning my core. Let's think about being stable in my lower body. Let's think about, my shoulders being locked in place. Let's think about good posture. And then let's rotate. Instead of being like, oh, well, maybe I need to get here in my swing or I get stuck here. Like, no, just load up the exercise, do the exercise. Then what that exercise is going to do for you is going to help make you stronger and turn better. And then go put the golf club in your hand, grab your coach, get your swing aid, whatever it is. And again, there's millions of swing aid tools that are out there to help you with golf swing. Some of them, I'm not going to sit here and talk about those, but there's plenty of those if you want to play with a piece of equipment out on the range. You can buy all the things you want out there. Don't take the weights out there.
It's definitely middle-aged white men will do anything but work out. It really is. I like to think about why people go back to it and why it's like that's what we're out here to do. As coaches, it's important to understand the why so that we can get into people's heads and like understand our clients and what we're coaching them on. And I just think, why do people why would they rather do bands or what? I mean, because it's easier. Because it's easier and like working out hard and lifting heavy and doing explosive power cardio type, that's just hard. Yeah. And I think like that's really what it comes down to. It is like committing to doing something that maybe they don't want to do, or just putting themselves in a gym environment. Some people just don't want to do it. It's too much like working out. So.
It's work. It's not the play that they want to do. They want to play with the golf club. And can you really blame them?
No, I mean, I get it.
We are in a world of like instant gratification. Like I want to go play with this. I want to and I'm not saying that these things won't help at all. I'm just saying there's a much better way to do it and like to compartmentalize the two, and you'll be much better off. If this is all you're gonna do is get up and start playing with these these golf swing looking exercises, is it better than sitting on the couch? Probably, because just getting up and doing 20 push-ups a day is better than doing nothing, right? Like, so just doing something, getting up and going for a walk is better than doing nothing. So yeah, if that's all you're gonna do, okay. But if you're serious, there's just an absolutely much better way to do this. And you can make it, I mean, our workouts, because again, I think when I ride a workout in Lift Heavy Swing Fast, a lot of people that do our programming like working out, and they've came from doing other programs before, so they're very into it. And if you're someone that just wants to get started, you can probably just do it. We did a whole episode on the minimum effective dose. If you're dead set on doing a couple of these, golfy looking things, okay, try a program like mine where you're also doing some things that are actually going to improve your physical capabilities. And you don't even have to do the whole workout. I mean, honestly, like, you could just do a little bit of it, do half of it, and then you'll see massive benefits. And then maybe and then if you're someone that's dead set on performance, then you'll notice a huge difference.
Yes.
And I get it. Is golf more fun than working out? Yes. So I get that's why people would rather do it.
Yeah. Well, on that note, y'all can try our programs. We offer a free 7-day trial for Lift Heavy Swing Fast, which is like always available to anyone who's never tried us before. We've got free downloads. These are all found on our website, liftheavyswingfast.com. You can take a quiz on our website now too. That's pretty cool to kind of find out which one's best for you. But we're just out here trying to, again, it's just all about us trying to figure out and educate and get the folks, even if it's one person out there, to like kind of switch their mindset a little bit in terms of like how they're training, because we've seen like what works for our clients and people actually get results versus just like what's cute on Instagram and social media, whatever. But yeah, try it. Like, give one workout a try. Like, what's literally the worst thing that could happen? You might get a little bit stronger. You might get a little bit more powerful. You might actually like it. But yeah, stay away from the things that are clickbaity and that maybe are just out there to be fun. Like, do things that are hard, because that's actually what's going to change your body.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, most of them are like kind of just like glorified warm-ups.
Yeah, time to push your limits a little bit, guys, and get out there, get uncomfortable, because that's where like growth actually happens. As cliche and whatever as that sounds, like the work that you're not putting in, the work that you're not wanting to do just because you're not wanting to do it, that's what's kind of holding you back.
Right.
With that, Squat says we're out, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.